Ireland. This is from Ireland, and this is a Druid circle. So it dates back like till a long time ago. I'm not even going to try and wow you with my retention of the history that I learned. But this is very close to where you kiss the Blarney Stone, which was a little violating, I must say. And probably my least favorite part of my trip to Ireland was the actual kissing of the stone. I kind of felt like I walk ashamed it out of there after I kissed.
Anticlimactic, huh?
Well, it's a little touristy, and it's a little cattle moving through the stalls there. But just after that, my favorite moment in Ireland happened where I explored the castle grounds with my son, and there's all this magical landscape and little-known areas around the castle. So it was really fantastic. I had such a great time, but I highly recommend traveling to expand your perspective and to create world peace, as well as get you fired up to come back to work and to, when you take a break from your business, you realize how much you love it, and I do. So I'm so happy to make one of my welcome home moments our webinar today. So Bonnie Marcus is our guest. As we're recording, I want to make sure that y'all are in the right place. This discussion is going to be about crafting your USP, your unique selling proposition. And my guest, Bonnie Marcus, says ditch the pitch and instead come up with a better way to communicate what you do, why you do it, and who you are. So, Bonnie, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Woohoo! Okay, we have a rockin' great crowd developing here, and some old favorites. I always feel like Miss Julie on Romper Room. Hi, Doug. Hi, Eleanor. Hillary. Hillary, I have to be careful of my breathing. Hillary is a voice expert, and I think of you, Hillary, all the time.
Now I'm intimidated.
I know. She's the best there is, but I think of you, Hillary, all the time when I find myself running out of breath. So I will be sensitive to that. And Jack is here, yay, and John Nicholson. I see you there, John. Meet, baby. And Julia and Laura and Matt. Wow, this is a rockin'. Hi, Robert. A rockin' great crowd.
Wow, this sounds like an inner club here.
Well, I know some of these folks because we've played together many, many times before, but there's some new faces and new voices. I'll bet there's some friends of yours here today, so I'm glad that you invited your group too. Yay. So, Bonnie, what I'd like to do is, Bonnie was kind enough to write a blog for me, and this is what really keyed me into the idea that you would make a rockin' great webinar guest. Once a month I like to have a free webinar, and the idea is that just to be of service and just so I can learn something myself, I'm going to invite smart, savvy business people to chat it up with me, and then we could all benefit. So when I asked you to write this blog, it was after I was on your radio show, and we had so much fun.
Yeah, we did.
And I love your story and your blog and your concept of ditch the pitch. And so I thought maybe you could explore it with us in real time today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, a couple of rules of the game here, guys. This is going to be interactive. So I am going to keep an eye on the questions section of the control panel, the GoToMeeting control panel. And if you have a question, type it up. I might even put you on the spot and open up your microphone, which would be fantastic. So don't be shy. Bonnie and I are going to chat it up, but I am going to reach out to you occasionally and ask some questions. And if you've got something that you want clarity on, or you came to this call to find out, well, I'm putting the responsibility on you to make sure that that happens. So feel free to use the question box. Type in your question on the question box on your control panel, or you can chat it up. I'll be checking both those areas for interaction from you. So let's get going. Bonnie, why don't we start by, tell me your story. How did you become an expert on unique selling propositions? Why are you here right now? What was the path that led you here?
Well, my past, I had quite a few sales positions in a corporate career, and my own story is I realized, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners can sympathize with this, if they were ever in corporate, I was making like millions of dollars for other companies,
Oh, I think we
you
can
know,
relate.
and I certainly learned how to sell their stuff. And then when I became an entrepreneur out on my own for the first time, I realized that this is really challenging to do it for yourself. You know, it's okay to sell widgets and solutions that other companies might have, and you know, you learn the selling proposition and you learn the solutions and you learn the presentation and how to sell that. And yes, you do have some involvement in it because you want to make your bonus and you want to do this and you want to do that. But then when it's your stuff and it's your company and your solutions that you're trying to sell, I realized that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners out there had real problems with it. And I did as well, because it's like, oh my God, you know, I feel really vulnerable now because I don't really know what to say, because all of a sudden it's me that I'm pitching, you know, and it's
Okay,
it's
all
different.
right. So you felt from your own awkwardness that it was worth pursuing, figuring out how to do this effectively.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you
and
have
then
I
started to go to networking events.
Okay.
And some of these networking events are pretty structured, and you go around the room and, you know, you have to stand up and give your pitch. And I could see that nobody was listening to anybody else's pitch. I mean, really, they were so focused on what they were going to say when they had to stand up. And, you know, I think it's really because we were told this formula, at least I was taught this formula, of what an elevator pitch should be. You know, it's very stylized, it's very structured, it's, you know, hi, I'm Bonnie Marcus, and my company is this, and we provide this, you know, and that will help you do X, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and it's got to be in like 2 sentences or less. It's got to be like really quick.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I even have in my book a formula that you can write an elevator speech. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you do your best with what you have, but I'm really intrigued by this idea. Can you ditch that formula and come up with something more effective?
I just want to make one point. I mean, we have to. And the reason that we have to is, if you've ever gone to one of these network events and people get up and one by one and, you know, they're giving their pitch, they really fall flat because they all sound alike. You know, at the end, you don't remember who was selling what to what, and, you know, because they just all sound the same. Everybody's using the same formula, and nothing really grabs people's attention. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so you're sitting there and you're going around the room and you're just going, this sucks. All right, this is terrible. No one's listening. They're all focused on themselves. So what caused you to break out of that formula? What was your first insight into it for yourself?
For myself?
Yeah.
My first insight was that people were so concerned with the formula that they really forgot the connection, the emotional connection to the people, and they really had a total disconnect with their story and the value that they had to offer. And, you know, when you start with a formula that says you should do it in 2 sentences, you become well, I mean, paralyzed is probably a very strong word, but it stifles your creativity.
Yeah, okay, that's
because you're confined, okay, here's the formula, this is my name, this is my company, this is what I did, da-da-da-da. And I know that when I was in school to become a coach, I was certified as a coach, we had one whole section on this, and nobody could do, I mean, people were so crazed over this. And so my approach is really to start much bigger. You know, you get smaller eventually. You can get to the 2 sentences if that's what you want, but you need to be really creative and just let all the ideas and the energy go and write and write and write and write. And sometimes you know, you will end up with a much more powerful 2 sentences than if you started trying to be very stylized. And
Okay.
I also...
Oh, okay, so to go broad first, you don't have to edit right out of the gate. You don't have to think, oh, I've got to create 2 rockin' sentences. Give yourself some content, and then you can weed.
Yeah, so I will give my clients some structure to it and some questions to answer so that they can begin to put, you know, this story and their value proposition together. And one of them is, you know, pretty obvious. What is your personal story? So many of us have connections to either the mission, the service of our business. There's some kind of a connection that sometimes is good to include in your pitch and your story. So that's one, is what's your personal story? For instance, it might be, you know, there might be a health coach who struggles with her weight the whole time. You know what I mean? And then she makes that personal connection. Okay. The other is really what makes you stand out and differentiates you. And this is really, really important. Not just from, well, I provide this service and the other person doesn't provide that service, but how do I provide that service? What's different about what I do and the way I deliver it? And I hope we can come back to that because I think that's like a really important
well,
piece
as
of this.
as you're visiting, I'm thinking maybe we should go through the basics of how to ditch the pitch and find a more authentic way to present yourself and to share your story and you know, what's great about you. So we could go through the points that we've got on the blog, and then how about if we practice with this? If we could get a volunteer, or maybe you and I could play with this a little bit.
Sure.
To work through some of the exercises. What do you think of that?
That's good.
Yay! All right, so first off, let go of the formula and maybe think of some broader questions and write things down or record them. Is that how you get it out?
Yeah. I tell you, this is like the biggest challenge, is to have people get out of the box, because we're so programmed to do this pitch a certain way, and just write and write and write and write. And let the ideas flow. So ditch the pitch, personal story, and there's an example here of how somebody said that they had problems with weight. And, this is important on a number of levels because there's also an emotional connection that people are making here because they understand.
She even asks that in her story, is that, can you relate?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so she's telling the story. And for those of you who are, I brought the blog points up because I thought this would make it kind of fun to use as our overarching organizational feature of our call tonight.
Oh, you're so good.
Really
okay.
I was really intrigued by this story itself. Like this is, you know, she shares her story and then asks, can you relate to this? So not everyone is necessarily your customer or is going to be interested in what she has to say next.
But we know that, right? Not everybody is our customer.
Everybody is?
When we try to appeal to everyone, what happens is we totally miss the boat.
Right. And even if she's not your customer, it's compelling to hear her get specific about her experience.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Love this. Okay, so if this is something that's resonating with you, then you and I maybe we should chat. I love that. Okay, so ditch the pitch and write. So then you can cull from that dump of authentic information some story, some shorter version of the overall info dump that is compelling. So you can craft from that. And that makes sense. You know, when you write an article, I usually write about 2,500 words and then get rid of about 1,500 of them.
Yeah, so why don't we use that same kind of approach? We know that works, right? And here in this first example, she could have just said that she was a health or wellness coach, and she helps people to lose weight or whatever. And it would not have had the same impact as something like this.
Nice. All right, so the next step is to ditch the professional jargon. Is that a problem?
I have heard this time and time again. And by the way, this example is from a former client of mine. I just changed the name. It's not ABC Communications, but this was her pitch. I remember when she first told me this, I was like, huh? What do you do? I mean, I got so lost in the language and the technical terms here. I had no idea what she did. And the lesson here is she really didn't know what she did in terms of the value that she really offered her customers. You know, how do they benefit from working with your company? So this is an example of something that completely falls flat. If somebody got up and started, I mean, you'd say, okay, maybe they're telecom IT. I don't know what they do, why I should work with them. I mean, do you when you read it?
No, and from my experience, you know, I'm looking at the list of folks who are on the call. We have a lot of plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical contractors in my group of close friends. You know, I'm the wife of a plumber, after all, Bonnie.
Absolutely.
So it's really easy for folks to fall into that. We're, you know, energy efficiency experts. We know geothermal and hot water balancing and blah, blah, blah. And
yeah, but who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Are you talking to a person who gets it?
True. That's true. If somebody actually knew what you were talking about, that might be an appropriate story. So one of the ways that you're going to create this introduction or unique selling proposition is going to be audience specific?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be, well, it's not, it depends on what you mean by audience. It's target audience. It's target audience specific.
Oh, so you wouldn't necessarily, well, maybe it's both, but you could also create versions of your introduction that would be appropriate for different groups. Like if you were in a group of engineers, for instance, something like this might be a little more.
You know, and that's a really great point. I can't even tell you how many different pitches I have.
Okay, I like that. Okay.
You know, you need to be very sensitive to your audience. And one thing you also need to be very sensitive to is what is their pain and what is their need. So that you can craft this. Like the first example here, you really know, okay, that her target audience probably struggles with their weight. That's something, maybe it's a lifetime thing, maybe it's after a baby, maybe it's whatever it is, after a heart attack, who knows. But you get it. And that pitch really goes right, it zings you right where the pain is.
Yeah.
Now, the ABC communication, there are companies that probably work with this company that also have issues, but you don't know what they are. You know, our experts bring together resourceful knowledge in developing long-range plans, and you know what do they do?
I can't hear you anymore. I've already fallen asleep.
What are these? See, I mean, what does that mean to the customer?
Right.
So here's another thing, and I call this like, you know, benefit language or connecting the dots. Very often we say what the features are of our product. We talk about what we do, so just like in the second example. And we assume that people get it, that how it's going to benefit them. And we don't connect the dots for them. And even though we get it, and it seems really redundant to us, and oh, do I really have to say that? Well, you do. You know, we can't assume that people get it.
So you could link it with like a which means. So I'm a geothermal expert, which means I help you get free energy from the water and from the ground to heat and cool your home.
Mm-hmm. And in that case, I would say, are you really struggling with your bills right now? You know, your utility bills? Mm-hmm. I mean, do you break into a sweat when you see the, you know, the N-Star bill in your mailbox, or you know, something like that, where people have a need, and that need is to make some changes regarding their the way they heat or cool their home, etc.
Okay, so I do like how your connecting the dots does involve a question that where someone could say, yeah, I do, or no, that's not really me. But there is some kind of qualifier that puts people in their place of need or pain, or maybe even a place that they want to be. would you like to have blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, that's an example in the next one.
Okay, so ditch the professional jargon, at least make a connection with a which means, or explain what that term is that you just tossed out. Even better, don't even use them.
Yeah, and to go back to your point, and be sensitive to your audience, because
okay.
If you're a technical business owner and you're talking to another technical business owner, and you can collaborate and work on referrals or whatever, there's a place for that. But then your pitch is more about, expanding the business, working together, and then talking about what you provide technically. But if you're talking to a homeowner, you want to know you want to connect with what their real need and their pain is. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's their bills. Maybe it's being ripped off by other plumbers. Maybe it's, who knows? But that's important to know.
Now, I love this, under this point, I love this, imagine a day in your life. So now this is, again, instead of putting them in a point of pain, you're putting them in a place where, I would really like to have that happen in my life.
Right. So this is what I call making that emotional connection. And the first sentence here in this point is really important. People make buying decisions for emotional, not logical reasons. They really don't. So it doesn't matter what service you provide, what your product is. They buy because they've made a connection to you, they like you, they understand that they trust that you are going to help them with their issue, whatever that is. And they rarely buy for logical reasons. Think about it. Think about things that you've purchased. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, here's an emotional connection. Mike is chiming in. He says, we perform exorcisms and interventions. And then he says, pregnant pause here. On ailing boiler and air conditioning systems. Well, you got my attention with those words. That is hilarious.
Yeah, and nice. that goes down to 4. Okay.
Okay. All right. Grab their attention. Okay.
Well, that is another way to do it. That's just either or 5. Stimulate their curiosity with something that's really way out there.
Nice, Mike.
Or grab their attention with something cute, something different.
I love that. Well, I have never heard exorcisms and interventions never as an elevator speech or a unique selling proposition. I think that's really fun, and that does get there. It got my attention.
Yeah. Good job.
Good job. Yay.
Yay. But then you need to explain, how that benefits them. So
stimulate their curiosity. There is really great copy in here. I often tell people I became the CEO by accident, which makes it, well, what happened? Tell me the story behind that.
Yeah. Or I did have a client who was a museum consultant, and she had this big, long pitch, and I was like, why don't you just start off with, anybody know what a museum consultant does? I'm asked that question a lot, and this is really what I do. So, draw them in.
I like it. Okay, so grab their attention, stimulate their curiosity, and then now explain the benefits. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about this? Because this is now getting more into the meat and potatoes. We've got their attention, and what is it that you really do?
Well, there are 2 steps to it. It's what do you provide, and how does that help the people that your prospects? People want to know that up front. There's a sales thing with them. I don't know if you know that. What's in it for me? That's what people want to know. Okay, so now you got their attention, or they're emotionally drawn in, they're curious, but then they're going to want to know, well, what's in it for me? Well, what I provide will, reduce your overall heating costs, or, will cut your bills in half, or people want to know. So they want to know what the system is, maybe, that you are going to install, but they really want to know more than the features. They want to know how that helps them. I can give you an example of, I had a client who was a nonprofit organization that provided retreats for women. And they have this beautiful, this lovely venue that they built. And women can come there for a week, 2 weeks at a time, escape their day-to-day lives, and work on a project. So maybe they need to finish their book or something like that. And they showed me their brochure, and I was like, oh my God, you totally missed the point. I mean, the brochure, it looked like a real estate brochure. It showed the house where people stay, the bedrooms, the jacuzzi, the this and that, all of which was wonderful, but that's not the value. That's not really what the benefit is. The benefit is they provide freedom. You know, they provide a week where these women don't have to worry about soccer practice and getting their kids to school and, you know, all the other stuff that consumed their lives, that cluttered their lives, that prevented them from finishing whatever that project was. So that's what I mean by focusing. So very often we focus on the features, but that brochure didn't really talk to anybody about what the true value of that retreat was.
Now, as you say that, do you think, as you explain the benefits, does it help to add to your story a testimonial or an experience? You know, let me tell you about a woman who came to our retreat.
Sure.
And what her experience would be, because I can see how, you know, let me put it in the words of one of my clients, one of my beloved clients. This is what she had to say about the week with us. You know, that could, I'm a big fan of testimonials, and I'm seeing how this could fit in.
Yeah, that's what we call social proof, right?
Social proof?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that term, but I'm so using it from this point on.
It is, right? It's people who have been there and who bought your product, whatever, and are ready to stand up and say, yeah, this is great. Do this.
And then the last point here is to practice your message. So I love what you said about having lots of them. That makes me feel better because I have pages of elevator speeches.
Yeah.
And I keep looking for the perfect one, but is there such a thing?
There's a perfect one for each time that you say it, for each experience. You know, first of all, I don't think there's a perfect anything, but okay. You know, the message that'll give you the most impact is one that will connect with the person who's standing in front of you or the audience.
And sometimes
and then you go to a slightly different audience, like the example I gave before. Maybe you're talking to a potential homeowner or customer who wants what you have to sell or is interested. Well, that's one pitch. But then you go out and you're talking to another company about collaborating or working together. Or, you know what I mean? It's just, that's a different pitch.
The way you say practice, it reminds me of like why golf is so addictive. Now, I don't play golf because I don't like to be bad at anything, and I'm not very good at golf and won't play enough to get good at it. But I have played enough to understand that there are, every now and then you're going to hit a really great shot, and some are going to be absolutely horrible, and some are going to be okay. But it's that occasional like sweet spot shot or turn when you're skiing or water skiing or something that makes you want to do this some more. So there are going to be moments when you deliver this pitch where it really resonates, right? And that's going to give you some strength and courage to maybe try that one again or to work off of that one.
That's such a great comment, because nothing should be set in stone. We do learn. Every time we talk about our business, we learn. I mean, we can read the language, the body language, the reaction of people, the feedback that we get. Like, wow, I went to one event, and, you know, there were 20 people waiting in line to talk to me, and then maybe I said something different, and, you know, I was lucky if one person would come up to me. You do get what works and what doesn't work, and you keep changing it. You keep changing it over time.
That relieves the pressure right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we should practice, and there's no wrong way to do any of this, right?
And the other point I guess I'd like to make is it should be conversational. unless you have to stand up at a networking event and just recite your pitch. But if you are one-on-one or, in a small group and people are asking you about your business, try to make it conversational and not like a formal kind of pitch that you have memorized.
Pre-recorded. Let me just play it from my phone. Perfect. Oh, let me introduce myself. Listen, I recorded it for the sake of, doing it just perfectly.
Right,
so.
Right. Well, of course, you're not getting the feedback of somebody. You don't even know what they want unless you're having a conversation with them. And then you can move your, pitch around to make sure that it's something that fits.
Nice.
Or maybe it doesn't, and that's okay, too, because not everybody's your customer, but maybe they can refer.
Right, or maybe you could learn about them and make a friend. So where can you go wrong?
Right.
Where can you go wrong?
What I found is that, that number one, you shouldn't really memorize all this stuff. You should be so connected with the value that your company provides that you can just talk about it. And that's the thing that I was referring to earlier, is understanding the benefit of your product or service and how that helps your customers, your clients, is really the key to just being able to then talk freely about it.
Sweet. Well, I think we should play with our participants a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Matthew, I'm going to put you on the spot because you wrote a great comment, but I don't understand it because I don't know who one of these people are. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Like, I am so excited that you're going to say yes when I open up the line here. So, hey, Matthew, can you hear us? Do you want to play with us? Do I need to call in? Well, you might need to call in, but it sounds like I can hear you. Say something.
You can hear me? What?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
I can't.
I can't hear him.
Oh, you can't hear him very well?
You'll have to translate.
He's got a mic and speakers. Sometimes the telephone is a little more secure in terms of call quality, but I can hear you. So let me ask you a question. He wrote something kind of cool here, Bonnie. Let me read this. He said that a way to be interesting is Subway turned a giant piece of bread into a weight loss product, and their approach to what it is they do and why changed when they introduced Jared and Subway as a way that you could eat healthy as well as like get some fast food. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But you
it is what they did there was really change their brand, right?
And then got a spokesperson and kind of someone to represent that. Subway Eat Fresh was kind of a different concept.
Right.
So we are kind of veering into branding in addition to your unique selling proposition.
Well, they're connected. They really are connected. Because to create a really good brand for your company, you totally need to be connected with the value proposition.
Ellen?
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
The point is they changed what business they were in. They took, as one guy described, a Buick-sized loaf of bread and turned it into a weight loss product. Because it's not, they changed the whole concept. They totally changed what they were doing. Dan Kennedy 20, 30 years ago wrote a series of letters called the Giorgio letters for Georgia.
Okay, see, that's what I didn't understand. I know who Dan Kennedy is. He's a marketer, and he kind of re-energized that long copy letter.
Yes, the infamous Giorgio letters, where he reinvented Giorgio from a restaurateur to a romance director and put him in a different business. And the idea being is your job is not to clear a toilet. Your job is to do other. You got to reinvent things because people don't think. People won't pay a squat for clearing a toilet.
But if you were to create some awareness of the value of that service,
well, Enter
Right.
in.
Who wants to clean their own toilets?
Yeah.
Right, or clear their own toilets, even worse.
There you go, right.
This is my friend the plumber talking.
Okay.
Enter into the conversation that is already in your customer's mind.
Well, you know what's striking me, and Bonnie, I want you to weigh in on this. What's striking me about our conversation right now with Matthew is that, Matthew, you do have a romantic way of looking at things, including plumbing, and your authentic introduction speech or your unique selling proposition introduction is going to be well served to play up on that because it's true to you.
Right. See, and that's really important to figure out, and it's not necessarily something that comes to us really quickly. I would say that the more difficult it is for you to figure out your value proposition and the benefit, the weaker your connection really is to what value you provide. And sometimes it takes a bit of a deep dive. But if you are in the plumbing business and, you know, your competitors all do similar things, you are still, your company is still different because of you and because of the people who work for you. And you could call that your brand, you know, your brand values, but the way you deliver that service is different, even though it may be the same service. So finding out what that is and taking that dive to figure it out is really, really important, because that's the essence of who you are. That's why people work with you. That's why clients line up and buy your service, because of all that.
Well, let's
sense?
do this. I'm going to ask, first off, Matthew, would you be willing to play with us and to share your elevator speech and have Bonnie weigh in on it?
I'm listening to voicemail real quick.
You're listening to voicemail?
Yes.
Oh, so does that mean you're unavailable?
For about 30 seconds.
Okay, well, Matthew's unavailable. If someone else would like...
That's the best excuse I've heard in a long time.
That is hilarious. Okay, if someone on the call...
I thought you were done with me, and I got a shelter that's getting too hot.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay.
I'm totally putting you on the spot. But if you are listening on the call and you do want to take advantage of the opportunity to play with Bonnie, I think a nice idea would be to type in, yeah, I'll play, on the questions, and we're going to, if I don't get any volunteers, I will create them. But if you want to play, go ahead and type in that you want to play, and then I'll open up the line for you. But what do you think, Matthew? Are you willing to take a shot?
Oh, I don't care. That's fine.
Okay, so if you were at a networking event and someone said, hey, so who are you and what do you do? How would you respond to that?
My name is Matt Hermanson. I run a company called CU Solution. We offer training classes that are not boring.
What do you think, Bonnie?
I wouldn't start out with the name and the name of the company. Here's a tip.
You asked me to introduce myself.
Yeah, I did say, who are you?
Oh, yeah, but then I would also finish with the name. You know what I mean? So that people get it at the end. But I would start off with something, who's your typical customer?
Ellen's customers.
My customer. Well, here we are. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So in other words, we sell continuing education so they can maintain their license.
For plumbing,
Heating,
for technical work?
Technical continuing education in the upper Midwest.
Great. Okay. So when you say that you don't offer boring, you must think that your competitors have courses that put people to sleep or whatever.
That is probably the number one complaint. The two biggest complaints you'll get from tradesmen is either it was boring or it was a sales pitch.
I would back that up.
If they're going to the class for free, that's one thing. But when they're spending maybe $100, $200, $300 for a day of training, and a couple hours of it is nothing more than a damn sales pitch, or they fall asleep through it, they get rather testy about that crap.
Okay, that's your pitch. That is your pitch. You just
You know
said it. I
what?
mean, you may need to re-wordsmith it a little bit,
Or you
but
don't like
you know,
that crap?
that's your pitch because now you have their attention. They get how you're different. Well, I mean, you can say this is what we do, and our classes aren't boring. You know, we provide the same content and certification or whatever, and we won't bore you to death.
Well,
But I would
not
lead off with that because that's the compelling piece to the pitch.
So the compelling piece of the pitch to the contractor is going to be not with what company you do, but rather what solutions you solve. You know, I've got to run up to a shelter that's getting, well, it's an FM transmitter. And so you have basically what some people might call a 3-ton heater inside, called an FM transmitter, and you're trying to get the heat outside, and it's getting too hot again.
Okay, so you're going to have to go.
Well, probably. That's what the voicemail is. So,
Okay. Well, I just want to underline something, though. When Bonnie got all excited about what you were talking about, I mean, I hope you could all on the call feel the energy change in when he was talking, because then he was just talking from his heart about what makes him great, and that really came across as authentic and pure.
It did, didn't it? It was
Yes.
perfect.
Yes. Okay, so we're recording this, and I want you to listen to it later, Matt, because there was a moment when it just kicked in that I thought, wow, and Bonnie underlined it at the same time. So that was rockin' awesome.
good, because
Okay, now it sounds like someone's about to blow up, so maybe you should go again.
might have to.
We don't want to be responsible, right?
Oh, I'm glad you're putting out some good training out there because I do hear those complaints about being boring and not appropriate. So I'm going to let you go, and I've got another friend on the call that I'm going to put on the spot a little bit. So thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Great job.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll turn him back into a mute. And Renee had something nice. I always like visiting with Renee. Hi, Renee. Let me open up the phone and see if we can hear you. Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Yes, I can
Hi,
hear you.
sweetie.
Can you hear me?
I
Hey!
think you and I have spent more time together in webinar settings.
I know. It's great. It's
Yes,
great.
love, love,
She's a
love.
webinar addict.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this is actually where we met, was on a webinar, and we've become friends ever since, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
it was a teleseminar. They didn't have webinars then, remember?
Well, and this is really, you know, I don't know that the audio, the visual portion of this program is the most important. I really wanted to have a conversation, which is more of the teleseminar, you know, reality here. But it's so much fun to see you again. And Renee wrote something really nice. She was prompted by your quote about your point about making an emotional connection, and she wrote that she has a beautiful quote that she likes. It says, "I discovered early on that people don't buy from me because they understand what I'm selling. They buy because they feel understood." Lovely.
Yep. You know who wrote
Great.
that?
No.
Okay. When I read this, this gentleman is a top salesperson in his company. He was making triple what everybody else was making. His background, he's a severe introvert. And number two, he's only in high school.
Go on.
Yeah.
Well, you know what gave him an advantage? That he was an introvert.
Yeah.
So he tended probably to listen rather than talk over everybody.
Yeah, in fact, he thought of himself as a therapist and advisor, not a salesperson. So as Matthew was saying, you kind of rebrand yourself, or as you were saying, Bonnie, you rebrand yourself, you change kind of what business you're in, and he wasn't a salesperson. He was a therapist and advisor.
Well, do you want to
That was his
practice?
brand.
Go ahead. Sorry, Bonnie.
No, his brand was, that's, once he realized that he was a therapist and advisor, that changed everything that he did. And this is one thing that I always say, everything changes when you understand your value. Everything changes when you understand your value. The way you communicate with people, your clients, your relationships, your body language. So once he showed up, instead of showing up as a high school student, once he showed up as a therapist and advisor, wow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything changed probably for him because that was his brand.
Well, and I want to just point out what I'm understanding right now, that the elevator speech, this introduction, is going to have resonating effects on your overall marketing approach, because now when you discover who you really are, that's what you need to reflect and reiterate in all of your communications.
That's right. Translates to everything.
Because then you would be an actor. If you're an actor, you can be anybody. But if you want to be yourself, then you got to show up as yourself.
And here's the big thing. If you don't show up as yourself and you're not authentic, your pitch is going to fall flat.
Yeah, people can see right through you.
You can see right through it. So we tend to look outside of ourselves. We look at, oh, wow, okay, that company does that, and they were successful. So I'm going to mimic that and have the same success. And then we don't understand why that doesn't happen. Well, that doesn't happen because we're different. Our unique value proposition is very different than the next. And so we need to take the time to figure out what that is. Really important.
Now, I've got another question. Renee, it's always a blast to play with you. Do you have an elevator speech that you want to play with?
You know what? I've got 5.
Do you want to toss one out?
I'll toss one out.
Okay.
Toss one out. How many
times? And then Laura, heads up to you, Laura, because I love your question and I want to get to you next. So, Laura, I'm putting you on deck. And Renee, let's go ahead and share your elevator speech and see what Bonnie can do to plus it for you.
Okay. How many times a day did you say to yourself, what am I still doing here? I just hate it. You see prison bars everywhere you look. Inside you're festering. You're ready to bust out of the joint, but you don't know how to escape from a job, profession, career, or business that no longer works for you. You're trapped. Or are you? As career designers, from concept to completion, we help you design a clear path to a professional life you can finally call your own. Ultimately, you'll feel content, at ease, and gratified in your professional and personal life.
Great. Okay, you did everything that I outlined in this article. There was the connection, the emotional connection, what people's pain, is. Well, perhaps there's stuff. Now, is that going to appeal to everyone? No. But it will to your target audience. And then you say very specifically at the end how that's going to benefit them, where you're going to take them.
Yeah.
So that's great. That was great.
Yay! Well, and one thing she didn't
Have you used that, by the way? Have you used it?
Not yet. I'm ready to get out there, and so we'll soon. It took me a long time to get here.
Well, Renee, I always love touching base with you so that we can stay in touch. So I will call you so we're not just talking on webinars.
Yes.
Thanks for playing with me. And let's get to Laura, because Laura brings up a good point. In Renee's presentation, it was fantastic. It was authentic. You could tell it had some juice, and it's going to get more fun and more comfortable as you actually use it. But she didn't state her name and her company. Now, she always can. But Laura, you have a good question of why not start with the name and the company. Are you on the phone? Can you hear us and be heard?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, hi.
Hi there. Good to see you, or hear you.
Good to see you, and I'm using air bunnies around that see you
right.
part. Yay! Well, Laura, that's a good question. Bonnie, why not explore that a little bit with Laura? Like you suggested to Matthew that he not start with his name. And
well, he can start with his name, but he also needs to finish with the name and the name of his company, because in the beginning people don't care. When you go through, when you just, like Renee, she just gave this great pitch. At the end, the people who would want to work with her really want to know her name and her company. If she started out by saying it, they would forget it. You know what I mean? I mean, they might seek her out in an event, but and talk to her because of that pitch. But I find that most people don't care in the beginning. If you're going to give it in the beginning, fine, but make sure you also give it at the end.
I definitely agree that it should be at the end. If anything, it should be sort of bookends. You start by who you are, what your company is, and then wrap up with it again to remind them. I just know that I keep attending these different, pitch parties and networking events where you do your round robin around the tables, and
Oh, yeah.
you get all this detail. And if you're trying to take notes as you go along, when you hear something that's interesting, that's always the one part that I feel like people just slur their way through. So I might get there was something interesting in that person, but I couldn't get his name, I couldn't get his company because he went so fast through it or just mumbled it out. And then I didn't catch it at the end, and there's too many people, so by the time I even try to search for him, he's gone, or something along those lines. So that's always a frustration for me.
Well, I usually tell my clients to say it at the end, because by then the people you want to care will want to know.
Sure.
Another thing that my pal Clint Arthur just told me, he said he always, and I even say it now, instead of calling him Clint, I called him Clint Arthur, he always introduces himself with first and last name. Mm-hmm. And so I've started that, Ellen Rohr, instead of just Ellen, because it has more heft to it.
Well, and you've got a great name.
I do.
Right? Ellen Rohr.
Ellen Rohr.
It's almost like your brand. It's like your personality.
But his point was that people, like if you were Barack Obama, you might introduce yourself as Barack Obama. You wouldn't just say, hey, it's Barry. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, Laura, do you wanna try your introduction?
Sure. I don't have it as quite well rehearsed as the last one did, but we'll throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. How's that?
Yeah, I think it's brave of you, and I just want to give big shout-outs. Anybody who gets called on the spot and does this, I just think the world of you. So good work. Okay, let's hear what you got.
Great. Okay. So hi, my name is Laura Cicola, and I'm with the Cicola Consulting Group, and we help people break through the linguistic glass ceiling. So what does that mean? There are so many people, professionals, who are great at their jobs but are non-native speakers of English. And although they may be technically excellent, technically fluent, they lack some of the nuances, the softer skills in communication, such as challenges with intelligibility and accent, or diplomacy, the ability to participate in meetings and give presentations well, or even just write email in a diplomatic way. These are the kinds of training programs that we provide for individuals and groups. So we bring success to the tip of your tongue. I'm Laura Cicola, and my company is the Cicola Consulting Group.
Well, wow. I don't think that's the first time you've said it. I thought that was pretty fantastic.
Actually,
what do you think,
Bonnie? She lost me in the middle. There was too much stuff about the features. And I would ask you to make it more personal. First of all, let me ask you this, because I'm making an assumption. Who would you be selling to? Who would you be pitching this to?
Professionals who are stuck at a certain point in their careers because they have good English but not, quote, perfect English, and their communication skills are holding them back.
Okay.
Right. Or to their managers, to their HR departments, to those who are working with them who are struggling because of a challenge in communication.
Mm-hmm.
The managers are also perceiving.
Okay. So that's their pain. Okay?
Okay. All right.
That's their need is they can't get out of this box that they're in, really, in corporate, right? Because of the limitations of their language. Maybe it's English as a second language.
Yes.
But they're struggling, and they can't get out of this box because of that. And so that's their pain. And you're going to find that this will resonate much more than listing out all the things that you do to help them. In the middle, I can't remember all the things that you listed, but you started to lose me there, and there wasn't as great an emotional connection as there could be, because these people are they're really stuck, right? They need you. They really need you because you can help them, overcome this.
And I think, you
I think you just need to put that passion in it.
Because I'm getting a real clear energy of how sensitive this could be.
Yes.
You know, that if you're experiencing it, it might not be something that's verbalized very often. And if you're the one who's willing to verbalize it, I think to your target audience, you're going to make a really fast emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I guess I didn't originally have those kinds of examples in it, but it was then otherwise too vague. And so by putting in some examples like problems with pronunciation and thick accents, or you're smart but nobody can understand you, or the email that is just really too big, whatever. That
you might choose one of them to start your pitch.
Okay.
You know, so any one of those would resonate with somebody who, you know, would be your ideal client.
Okay.
Any one of those.
Those are definitely.
You know, you're in a meeting and you're stumbling and you're searching for the right words, and you know that's holding you back, or you know you're not presenting yourself to the company the way you could. You know, and I can take, you know, my training can take you there. You know, but I think the passion needs to be there, the connection to, I feel your pain.
Right.
And I'm not saying you should say that,
but, no,
your words should. Your words should.
But the expression that you've got up here, imagine that. So this way you don't necessarily, you know, say something like your accent is really limiting you to someone, which might be a little off-putting. But imagine being able to communicate effectively, no matter how smart you are, your limited understanding of the expressions or the words to use, or maybe your thick accent is keeping you from getting to the next level in your career. Imagine being that person, or imagine sending an email and having
you could approach it that way too.
That frustration. I think that was really exciting. Hey, Bonnie, I've really enjoyed this, but you know, it's the top of the hour, girlfriend, and I want you to share with our team what you can do for us. So I did promise Bonnie I would connect y'all to her website. So there's a boot camp coming up, and you've got some group coaching sessions available too. I've got a couple of links here, Bonnie. Which one would be a good one to click on?
Well, I don't know where your audience is from. The group coaching program starts May 1st, and that's virtual. It's a 4-week.
Click on this.
It's a 4-week program. And
look how
the focus of this
right here
is really to help you identify your value proposition so that you can communicate it easily, whether it's to get new clients or to advance your career. But it's all about taking that deep dive that I was talking about to really differentiate yourself. And that is 4 weeks, 60-minute calls. And it's limited to just 10 people, and it starts May 1st.
Woohoo! Excellent. And then the GPS, your way to Success Boot Camp.
Success Boot Camp, that's in Boston. I don't know how many people are from Boston, but that's going to be May 5th, and that is a full-day workshop to really chart out your business or career. And that starts with identifying your value proposition. And once you know that, you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier. What are the implications of that? You know, what is your message? How do you take that to the next step so that you can build your business around it, or change your marketing, or maybe it's different clients, but the way you attract clients based on that. So you leave there with a real action plan, and that is May 5th.
Woo-hoo! Well, we have 2 minutes left. I have one more question. Do you think we have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay, this is Cheryl. Thank you so much. Thanks, Laura, for participating. You rock.
You. Laura, thanks.
So glad
Thanks
to see you on the call. Woo-hoo! And let's find Cheryl. Okay, so Cheryl already shares. This is a developmental stage elevator pitch. So let's hear it. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm glad you took one more quick call at the end.
Yay!
So
okay, well, this is fun. I'm learning so much. I'm having a blast. So thanks to you, Bonnie, for working in real time with us. I totally appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It is a blast. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, Cheryl. Let's hear what you got.
How would you like to double your sales without having to double your staff? Are you looking to be the #1 place and a magnet for all the groups and birthday parties you can ever hold? Well, let me show you the simplest way to make that happen. Remember, it's Cheryl with an S for Sales and Solutions, and Cheryl Golf will help you drive your sales to a new height.
Woohoo!
Okay.
Now, what's your audience?
My audience is typically family entertainment centers, golf driving ranges, and country clubs.
That's pretty specific. What do you think, Bonnie?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that because I didn't know what she did. You know, I mean, it was driving sales, but I didn't know what that was. I didn't know who her target audience was.
So if that was a homogeneous audience, that would have been appropriate? Like if she was at a group of those kind of guys?
The thing that was a little bit confusing was your first two questions. Would you repeat those again?
Sure, if I can remember perfectly. It's how would you like
how do you drive?
How would you like
something
to
about your staff?
Right. How would you like to double your sales without having to double your staff?
Okay, right there, I think you're a productivity or efficiency expert.
That is part of what I do.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then go to the next one.
I think what I said next
Like,
is
how would you like to have?
more groups and parties at your facility. I probably said something to the effect of, it was just off the top. It's not always memorized because the audience is always different.
Girlfriend, you get a big, like, woo, woo, woo for playing with us. So thank you for being so brave.
And by the way, my last hook, if they're really looked at, I'm saying, by the way, if you want 100 ideas for under $100, here's my card. Give me a call.
Okay. I think your first question, knowing now what you do, you should stick with that first question and expand on it, rather than keep asking questions. What does it mean? What do you do for them that they won't have to expand their staff? We know what it is to grow the top line, but we don't know, you know, how do you pull it all together for them, and what does it mean to them at the end of the day? More drops to the bottom line, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So don't assume that people get that. I think your first question, now that I know what you do, is really good, and I would work that.
Okay.
More.
Would you like the old opening, which was really short and simple? My business is to make your business more money, and we do that through great sales training and promotions.
That sounds kind of tired to me.
I thought so too. That's why I changed it.
Yeah, no, I think you have more energy and it's more specific. Does she need a bridge in there that would connect to who her target audience is? Like, how would I know if she's going to be able to do that for me?
Well, yeah, she had a sentence in there like that.
Well, it went right to the birthday parties and group thing. That's where I got lost. Is like I wasn't sure. Like, I don't know. But that's what I thought. I bet there's a target audience that piece that was just not identified.
Right. No, most of the audiences are typically very targeted, and those are the two items. When you say to them, "What's your pain point? What keeps you up at night?" I want to grow my birthday parties, and I want to grow group sales. Those are their two top items.
Okay. So what keeps them up at night is what your elevator pitch needs to talk to. If you have that information, that is so incredibly valuable. If you know what keeps them up at night, then you need to address that right out of the box as soon as you start talking.
Okay, so we'll switch in and say, tired of birthday party parents complaining and corporations not booking and waiting for that phone to ring with all those corporate parties.
Where your energy was the strongest was when you said the two things are they want to book more birthday parties and they want to, what was the second one?
Grow their group corporate business.
They want to grow. I mean, when you said that, it was just like, you know, your confidence about what you can do and how you can help and what the problem is was really, really clear.
Great.
But I would definitely expand on the On the emotion, on the passion a little bit. Get into what their pain is.
See, it's really simple when they say, wait, are you really telling me you can grow my group sales? And then I can just automatically just flows that absolutely I have clients who have grown their sales a minimum of 20 to 30% even in the toughest last 2 years.
Great.
That's really good.
Put it in there.
That's really good.
And there was
What
also
about, like, what if she
energy
got
around that. Right?
What if she got specific on that? Should she say, I know people, or should she say, one of my clients, Susan, grew her da-da-da? Would it help to get that specific?
Sure. And that could be you. And that could be you. So, you know, give me a call.
There we go. I like to be a name dropper saying, and here are my top 3 clients that I helped this year. They're like, wow, you got to work with them. So
you have a great voice,
I mean,
too.
if that's okay. And the other tip that I had was, you said, so here's my business card and give me a call. And I would always say, take their card and you call them.
oh, I always
love
ask
that.
for
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
because you don't have the control.
We are testing the confines of this call, which is
yeah,
supposed
we
to be an hour.
We need to close.
Thank you so much for staying on the line. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Bonnie, thank you so much. I think the most exciting thing I got out of this call was the freedom to explore how you introduce yourself, to play with it, to have more than one answer, that there isn't a 2-sentence pitch that you're going to just write out the first time out of the gate, that you might have to make it big before you edit it down. I mean, you gave us a lot of room to play and be successful. So thank you. It was awesome.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. And your group is great.
Yay, aren't they cute?
Yeah.
I love the Bare Bones Biz community. Well, I will let you go, and we'll see you next month. We've got more fun lined up. And stop by barebonesbiz.com and absolutely womensuccesscoaching.com and check out Bonnie's services there. Thanks again, Bonnie. Love, love,
You're
love.
welcome.
Bye-bye.